and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Geeks Who Like Sports Leaderboard Interviews. We have a very special guest today, but first, as always, I am Ray Carcillo in beautiful Los Angeles, California. Joined by my best friend in the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. And today, joining us here, Eric Wallace. How are you doing today, sir? And thank you for joining us.
I'm all right. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing great, man. We're doing great. We're excited to talk to you about a lot of games. We got some sports stuff. We know you're a big Spurs fan, so we're going to talk some basketball.
That's right. Go Spurs.
There you go. See?
Eric, my standard response to that question is that I'm surviving. You know, I'm doing. That's what I said.
I mean,
I've been saying that for last year. Gets a laugh every time I say it.
Yeah. Oh wait, what team is your team?
My team?
Yeah,
I'm the 76ers, man. I'm already got in the playoffs. I got a first round bye as of today. I'm doing pretty happy right now. So
all right.
Yeah. So I'm a Knicks
fan. You guys doing all right?
Yeah, I'm a Knicks fan. Lee's a 76ers fan. You're a Spurs fan. This is a rare instance where our teams are actually like doing better than your team. Typically, it's the other way around.
Right.
But we'll get into that a little bit.
Is this what you feel like all the time?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey.
So, but first, Eric, before we get into it, man, we gotta want to know a little bit more about you, right? Obviously, tell the good folks out there what Glo Navy is and how you became president of this esports organization.
Dope. So Glo Navy is a esports organization that was started by Chief Keef like a few years ago, and I came around around 2 years ago now. I had known Keef's manager Idris for over 10 years. I know it's a lot of numbers, but you know, I've known him for over like 10 years at this point. And I had dabbled in different areas, from the music business to working with social media influencers and in marketing with SEO and paid advertising and all that stuff. And I felt when I realized that Keef had an esports team, I was like, this is an opportunity to bring all that stuff into one. And create something really cool, that highlights a lot of these young players that are coming out, especially people of all diverse backgrounds. So it's been a real pleasure to work with them and to help build this up into something to assume a worldwide brand. So excited for things to come, and excited for you guys to see what happens with what we got going on.
Yeah, man. I mean, we can't wait. I mean, I know you got a lot going on with Fortnite, and you got a lot of guys obviously doing Call of Duty Warzone. Those are two of the biggest competitive games right now. But I mean, it's
our biggest thing actually is GTA right now. The guys have been doing a lot of content creation, streaming, and posts on YouTube. A lot of Grand Theft Auto roleplay videos. Like it's been really good for us. They have a whole server called Phonem where people come on and they pretend to be different characters and act it out. So it's really cool. The demographics that are coming on are typically known for being console players, and we're helping a lot of kids kind of switch into getting PCs. Even though we still embrace the console world, but it's helping a lot of people of color get PCs and just to play with Keef and the guys and everything like that. So it's a really cool situation we got going on.
That is awesome. Do you think that there's a natural advantage for some PC players over console players when it comes to esports?
I mean, in the competitive sense, absolutely. There's been times that I've been playing on my console and the guy on a PC will kill me, and I'm just now seeing him around the corner. Like if you have the wrong TV or the wrong monitor or something, and you got a console versus a PC, it's a wrap for you. Unless you're really good. Like guys are really good on console, like they deserve a lot of respect. But there's obviously an advantage to being a PC player in a lot of these games.
Well, and especially now, it used to be that, Xbox players played with Xbox players, PlayStation players played with PlayStation. Now you have all the cross play, especially with Microsoft and PC, Xbox and PC. I mean, so it's definitely you're starting to see those walls come down. And I think that as somebody who's been headshotted plenty of times in Cold War, in team deathmatch, I can tell you that yes, I agree that sometimes being a console player is not the best thing in the world.
But hey, if you can win matches on on PlayStation or Xbox versus PC players, you deserve all the credit for sure.
Nice. Very cool. So, so esports, obviously it's a big thing. Obviously it's the biggest thing really in games right now, right? This isn't a fad. This isn't a trend. This is something that we've been building towards for years. But how do you as a company carve out a niche or carve out a section of this pie? Because it feels like there's a lot of different competing brands, and you've seen a lot of upstart companies in the last few years, a lot of newcomers. So how do you guys differentiate yourselves from the competition out there and get a leg up on everybody?
We coming in as like a lifestyle organization with content and everything, and then pushing our message for diversity in the space as well, and it's very much needed, and I'm excited to do it. And we can't give away too many of our plans, but we have some tournaments coming for the community. We have a bunch of merch coming for the community. We have a bunch of different things coming out, and I'm excited. But yeah, like definitely focusing a lot on the content and working with our dope content creators is definitely one of our big goals this year.
Eric, one of the stats that astounded me when I heard it the first time, speaking of diversity in games, was that over 50% of players are people of color, yet under 5% of the industry is people of color. Not
Absolutely.
to mention that the big companies do not market to areas where people of color live primarily, which
Absolutely.
it boggled my mind. Right. So, it really is. I mean, it is on so many different levels. So, I love to hear that the message here of diversity in gaming is there, because it's not just needed, but it's drastically needed. Right.
Right. Sorry, the dog is begging to go outside, but I'm listening.
It's okay. Lee's dogs interrupt all the time. Perfectly fine. We are dog friendly here on the show.
Yeah.
It is all good.
We're dog and kid friendly.
You literally just scratched on the door like, hey, put me outside.
We're dog and kid friendly, but if the lawnmower guy shows up, that's not not okay. That's the worst. But yeah, no, right. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, because it's a stat that not a lot of people know, that the people of color in the gaming community are insanely underserved, insanely underrepresented. And, I love to hear that there's organizations that are really making that part of their mission and vision moving forward.
Absolutely. It's very important. It's very necessary. I think it'll help, change gaming in general,
right?
The gaming industry in general, just, making sure that that's focused on. So that's one of our biggest things that we're working on. So in all aspects.
And that's great. You got to make sure to hold the gaming companies and whatnot accountable and whatnot. I mean, they're doing better. We as an industry, I think, we are starting to make progress, but it is definitely a long road we'll have to hoe to get to the point where it needs to be. So it's great that you guys are fighting the good fight and making things be more representative of how we are as a country and as a world.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Like, there's more games now than ever to have like people of color in it, or female protagonists and different things like that. And it's showing, it's starting to show a little more. We're not at the point, like you said, yet, but we're getting there. So
yeah, there's a lot of work to do. We have a good friend of the show, Gordon Bellamy.
I was just thinking that, Ray.
He was the one who way back in the day fought to get black players into Madden. People don't realize that everybody in Madden until I think like Madden 96, because of partially because of technological limitations, but also partially just because, some guys just didn't think of it. These guys, they were all white. And we all know, like anybody who's watched a football game, it's a kaleidoscope. But it is a primarily at this point African-American league, and it's like it wasn't represented until the late '90s in Madden. It was almost a decade worth of games. So
I didn't even know that, but that's crazy. Shout out to him for making that happen.
Yeah. So it's definitely something that again, you know, it's shouting it from the rooftops and whatnot, and we're all for it here at Geeks Who Like Sports. So
Definitely.
yeah, but yeah. So speaking of games, it is a great time to be a gamer. There's a lot going on. I mean, we actually, as we're recording this on April the 30th, 2 new games dropped today: Pokemon Snap for the kids, and also the new game Returnal for PlayStation 5. I got to ask, Eric, what are you playing right now, man? What's taking up all your time?
So right now, I just beat 2 games. I beat Metro Exodus, and I beat Witcher 3 just recently. And then I've been playing I'm constantly playing the wrestling games. I don't know if you guys are aware of WWE 2K games.
Oh yeah, I am a huge WWE guy.
Yeah, so I play those games all the time. I like creating the characters and making them fight each other. It's fun for belts and things. And all the characters and all the the one time you choose a squeak your toy. But no, but like you can make 100 characters, and I have like 90, 98, 99 characters right now that I've created, and they're all original characters. They're not, besides me and my brother and my sister that I've made in the game, but no one else. They're not like celebrities or anybody that you recognize, basically. So, and I change their moves, I change their entrances and clothes and everything. Sometimes I update their attires and stuff, and it's crazy.
So wait, when you have a match night, are you telling me that you have so many players that only your players might fill a whole card one night?
Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
In universe mode, you can have the entire universe just be your created characters, and that's what I have.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I simulate the matches that I don't want to play, and then or I don't want to watch or whatever. And then I watch the ones that, especially the big title matches and stuff, to see who's going to win. And I don't know. It's just,
we got to ask that. Who is your favorite created wrestler? What's his name? What's his finisher?
I mean, obviously it's me, man. Like my character, you know, his gimmick, he's like the king, whatever, right. And like he's got a cape and a crown, and he wears like black and gold, and it's really cool.
Nice. Who's your favorite wrestler in general?
Man, back in the day, I used to like Ken Shamrock. Yeah. I thought he was really cool for whatever reason. He just really intense and like cool. I liked him. I liked Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit. Unfortunately, RIP to both of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, the Rock. And as I grew older, I had another more of appreciation for like the wrestlers that were in Nation Domination, and you know, a lot of the different Black wrestlers. I loved Mark Henry during his Hall of Pain run. I felt like that needed a lot more. He needed the WWE title, man.
Yes.
Forget the world title. He needed a WWE title for that run, because he was just so amazing in that time, that he deserved it. Like,
yeah.
You know, I remember, Ray, you and I were at the Raw, I believe, after the WrestleMania, where Guerrero and Benoit won the championships, I think.
Oh man, that was one of my favorites.
They were in New Jersey the next night, and it was a crazy night. I remember that one like it was yesterday.
Yeah, no, it was around that era when we went. I don't know if it was right after WrestleMania, but it was around that era for sure. But yeah, it was I mean, that was a terrific era. We kind of grew up with that era too. The Attitude Era, Stone Cold, The Rock.
Right.
Like you mentioned the Nation of Domination, Farouk, aka Ron Simmons, you know, who's still recognized as he's recognized as the first African-American world champion, although there's reports that there was some guys in NWA and whatnot, but WWE, since they own everything, they recognize they're like, Ron Simmons is the guy, even though there was obviously African-American wrestlers before that. So, those were great hours. And I agree completely that Mark Henry needed to have the WWE title in that Hall of Pain run, because it was great. Yeah, he absolutely dominated. I mean, that was really starting to me kind of a beginning of an end of a great era, though, right? Like that was the past, to me personally, not to get too much of a wrestling tangent. The last couple of years haven't been up to snuff. Never mind, even before the Thunderdome, and I understand, obviously trying to make the best of a bad situation with the pandemic, but to me, I've gone full AEW now at this point in terms of like a wrestling product and quality.
Right. I agree. I agree that AEW right now is a better quality, besides NXT, being part of the WWE brand. But one thing I do credit WWE right now is probably the most diverse they've ever been. I feel across the board throughout the roster. Like it's kind of crazy that even we have Bobby Lashley now was a champion, you had 2 Black women going at it in WrestleMania for a championship. And I think that's something that AEW is kind of missing right now, because all the main title guys are all white guys. No offense to any of those guys. They're all great workers. They're all amazing. But like we need, even if it's homegrown talent, I know they got now, what's the dude's name with Taz? And he's dope. Will Hobbs.
Will Hobbs, yes.
Yeah, Hobbs is cool. And I was like, all right, cool. You guys are finally bringing in some people. And I would love to see like Ricochet go to AEW or something and kind of mix things up or something. Like someone was mentioning on a YouTube channel that they should like maybe take some of the people that they're not using and maybe, do transfers like it is like in football in overseas and stuff.
Right.
Like we're not using this guy here. Have a nice day.
Well, what's interesting is that supposedly they're talking about bringing over some of the Impact talent, which is a much more diverse roster. Of course, Kenny Omega just beat Rich Swann for the Impact title.
They're doing really good as well. Exactly, with the diversity with Rich Swann, the Mac. They have a bunch of different type of wrestlers, ethnic wise, and a lot of really good women wrestlers as well. So
I will say at least AEW, actually the AEW women's division is very diverse, right? You've got Hikaru Shida right now from Japan, who of course is the champion, but they just added Jade Cargill, Nyla Rose, but I definitely think that like they could definitely work on the main roster. And I don't know. Personally, I'm kind of sick of seeing the Young Bucks as the top tag team guys, but that's me.
So I really liked Lucha Underground. So like I love that show so much that I went to one of the tapings, and there's so much untapped potential in Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix
and Ray Phoenix,
and all those guys that came from there. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Please.
I was so hoping that when they gave Phoenix a title shot that they would like surprise that they would get a shock. I knew it wasn't going to happen, but like it would have been such a swerve if they had put the title on Phoenix against Omega. Like it's especially because Omega, people forget Omega is the Lucha Libre champion too.
Right.
which is crazy. You have Omega, who took the AAA Lucha Libre title from Ray Phoenix in Mexico. So he's the Impact champion, the Mexican Lucha Libre AAA Mega champion, and you have him as the AEW champion. Like the dude's got. Right. I mean, it's a great gimmick, but the dude's got too much gold.
He's got way too much gold right now. I'm curious I had to open the dog door. They're getting on my nerves at this point. Sorry, guys, but yeah. I mean, Kenny Omega is a great wrestler, and he deserves a lot of the attention. I would love to see where they're going from here, though, where this partnership with TNA and AEW is going to go. And they have a lot of stables right now, and I don't know if that's a bad thing or not. It's starting to look a little bit WCW-ish.
Yeah,
with all the stables that are coming in, but I feel like they're still doing a better job than WCW did back in the day with all these stables. So we'll see.
Yeah, they're trying to still showcase, make sure everybody they have in their roster gets a little bit of airtime, but it's also at this point where, and especially now that you got free agents out there like Samoa Joe and Andrade and all these other guys, obviously Mickey James in the women's division, like you've got all these folks out there, the Iconics. Again, the list, there was a long list that WWE released a few weeks ago.
Love Andrade, he's dope. He's amazing wrestler.
You know, so you wonder if AEW is going to pick him up or Impact's going to pick him up, and then what do you do when these rosters maybe get a little too big?
Right. They're going to need to do a second show. It's going to be inevitable at some point. It's inevitable now. They just have too many people on a roster. They can barely even showcase anybody so far. And that's why there's so many stables. So, you know,
I think they're going to continue to break down boundaries with YouTube and, you know, other ways of getting the shows out there. That's one of the things that, you know, they've really stepped up to, right, Ray? You know, like
right.
To me, that's the future. It'll be interesting to see how they leverage that over WWE.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They've done a good job though. I like a lot of the characters on there. A lot of the characters I enjoy are funny enough from Lucha Underground. So it's unfortunate that couldn't continue. But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you know, I'm sorry for the folks out there if specifically for Lee, that we went on this huge wrestling
I want
tangent.
it to be known that 10 minutes ago Ray said he doesn't want to stay on wrestling, and that it was wonderful to watch this bromance spring from the ground.
Hey man,
it was fun to watch.
That came from the games I'm playing. So
I know.
You know, and you know, I play all types of games. I'm not really into the Call of Duties and stuff as much as some of the guys on our team are, just because, like, I don't know, I prefer the story-based stuff, or
you and Ray are going to be great friends.
or the stuff where I can create characters. If I can create a character, I love this game. I love a game. Yeah. So, you know.
Eric, you're going to have to send over a screenshot of the King wrestler you created, and we'll use that as our screenshot video. You're going to have to do that. People are like, who's this guy? Just listen.
Yeah.
I got you.
He's the king.
That's right. That's right.
So we're talking about you know, breaking down boundaries. Lee mentioned YouTube and whatnot with wrestling and stuff, and you know, that's one of the interesting things I want to bring up with gaming as well. I wanted to get your take on kind of where gaming is going in general. One of the big things that's kind of had a lot of struggles lately is Stadia, right? Google Stadia was a big thing that, and the idea of streaming games and all this other stuff. And obviously they've run into a lot of issues over the past few months. Where do you think is the future of games? Do you think streaming games is going to be a thing coming down the road? Do you think Stadia was just maybe the first failed attempt at this? What are your thoughts on what's the next big thing maybe in gaming, and you know, what went wrong, and just your thoughts on Stadia in general?
I feel like it's going to depend on the politicians in this country, to be honest. If they're willing to build a strong internet infrastructure in this country, then streaming can be the future. But as of now, there's a lot of places that still have dial-up internet. You know, there's still a lot of places that have really bad internet in this country, and we're better than a lot of other countries. But then that's another problem there. It's like, how do you expand? Are you only going to be in the countries with good internet? And that's going to be tough to compete with, you know, the Microsofts and the PlayStations and just PC and other PC platforms in general, like Steam, etc. So, I mean, I don't know. Well, time will tell, you know, depending on what politicians implement the policy to fix the infrastructure. We'll see what happens. But I felt like it was a chicken and the egg situation. You know, Google was trying to go around installing fiber everywhere, but then ran into all these companies with monopolies in each area. So, you know, right. What are they going to do? So maybe they'll get it figured out. I don't know their plans, and you know, this is just speculation, but we'll see what happens. I'm excited to see what happens, though. Like, I'm always for new technology and new stuff. And I just want some more video games, man, for my PS5.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's why it was a big deal today that they finally got an exclusive in Returnal dropped today. But yeah, it's been a slow movement. Actually, that's a good thing to talk about. I think we're seeing less exclusives overall from both Microsoft and Sony. Nintendo, of course, is always going to have Mario and Zelda and Metroid and Pokemon. But you're seeing a lot less exclusives from both Microsoft and Sony, even to the point where now Sony games like MLB The Show is on Microsoft. Do you think that's going to continue? Do you think that
I do?
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? Like we're getting now. What is it? The new Horizon Zero Dawn on PC. What are your thoughts on some of these? The idea of the exclusive game kind of going by the wayside for at least two of the big three companies.
I don't think it's gonna go fully away from it. I think that Sony is very clear on making exclusive games for the PlayStation, and I don't think and yes, some games may come out on PC as well, but I think there'll be at least timed exclusives potentially. MLB The Show just made business sense for them, I'm assuming, and then now you can crossplay. I think crossplay we'll see first over anything with multi-platform games. Like I would love for 2K to be crossplay, NBA 2K, and any other sports games should all be crossplay at some point. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And then what else? I mean, content creators are just going to get bigger and bigger. Streamers, YouTubers, everything like that. I see that, becoming a lot bigger. So I'm excited to see the future of this, and looking forward to what happens. I can't predict the future. I don't have a crystal ball, but this is what I hope to see. Yeah.
So that brings me to a theory Lee has about the future, about Sony versus Microsoft, especially with Microsoft buying a lot of studios. They bought Bethesda. They're constantly acquiring a lot of smaller companies. My thought on it is a lot of things would have to go wrong for Sony for this to happen. But Lee, how about you tell Eric your theory, and I want to get his reaction on it.
Eric, and again, there's no judgment here. I do have a crystal ball. A lot of people don't realize that, but it does tell me the future at times. It's not always right, but no. Look, here's my theory. When I let me start this by saying this, because I have to say this for everybody listening to this episode that might not know me. I do not have a stake in Sony or Microsoft, and what I mean by that is like I am not a fan of one and not the other. Like I'm very neutral with them. I'm I have no problem with either one. But when I take a big step back and look at the macro of Xbox and PlayStation, specifically Microsoft and Sony, and what Microsoft is doing, what they're buying and acquiring, and then I look at the kind of net worth of these companies, this is the big boom. I believe that this may be the last PlayStation that we're seeing right now. And I'm predicting that it's possible you will not see another PlayStation console in the future. I do not think PlayStation is going to disappear in any way. I could see them being a game creator, kind of like Sega did, but the Microsoft is being so aggressive. It's making me think they're going for the whole thing outside Nintendo. And I just want to get your thoughts on that. Like I said, I know it sounds out there. It sounds crazy, but like I said, the numbers kind of support the direction I'm going. It might not be one console, but a generation, but I don't see how PlayStation 5.
I don't see that happening because of, in the past, Microsoft's bought studios like Rare. What is Rare doing anymore? They're making they had Rare making characters. What were those characters on the 360 they had you make?
Oh, the avatars that they had.
The avatar thing that they had, and then there's been a bunch of studios under Microsoft that haven't done well. So I hope Bethesda does well. I want there to be competition. I think competition is good for the industry, and I don't see Sony dying. You know what I mean? I don't see in that way. I don't see it becoming a Sega and start just making games. I don't see it happening. I feel like every generation a console gets a little too comfortable, and the other one needs to kick their competition in the ass a little bit just to get them to act right. Basically, it happened almost every generation. 360 came, and after PlayStation, it just destroyed, just killed it with PS2. and was a little more popular in the beginning. That got Sony to work harder. Sony started working harder with PS3 eventually outsold 360s by the end of the cycle. And then the PS4 came out, basically obliterated the Xbox One. And then now PlayStation is too comfortable. Xbox needs to kick them in the butt a little bit.
Right.
So, to now get them back on their toes. Like one side I feel like gets too comfortable, and then the other one is like, hey, I'm right here.
Right.
Like,
right. That's capitalism working to a T. Like I said, I'm not against that in any way. I just think that when I look at the money behind the companies, and again, look, especially the last year, Microsoft's been insanely aggressive this year. I mean, not just buying up studios, right? There's billion-dollar acquisitions out of nowhere, and then the infrastructure they're building online. It just, again, it's just, there's some writing on the wall that looks to me like they're going to make a play to monopolize between those two companies. I got to say this again. I'm not rooting for Sony to,
I feel you.
In any way. It's just like, I'm just shocked at how aggressive Microsoft has been in the last 12 months.
It's good. I like it. It's going to force Sony to get their stuff together as well.
Right.
I think they'll make some big moves as well. They're already talking about trying to do something similar to Game Pass. They're already talking about, offering movies for PlayStation Plus subscriptions and stuff like that.
They better do it soon.
We'll see what, huh?
They better do it soon, man. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. They don't want to be chasing, because like I said, if Xbox starts drawing, if Microsoft starts drawing people over,
the thing is, they're not even focused on their console right now. They, like Microsoft has said, that they're more focused on Game Pass than anything.
Right.
So like they're not even trying to sell units for the Series X, which is interesting. It's an interesting strategy, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near over yet for Sony. They were already selling a lot of PS5s right now. Even with it being a struggle to sell them because you can't find them, but they're already selling a crap ton of PS5s. I think there was some article saying that they're outpacing the PS4 or something like that.
Oh, they are. They totally are. Like I said, not to keep this, not banging at this.
It's all good.
It's just like, and this is what I don't know, right? I do not know what the marketplace is going to look like in 7-8 years. Technologically wise, like I said, a lot of stuff, like if there is an internet infrastructure on the country at that point, it could drastically change this conversation. But note the date, it's April 30th, 2021. Eric, we're booking you right now for April 30th, 2029.
Hey, let's do it.
Calendar. We'll rehash this episode and we'll figure out, if I was right or if I was wrong. But no, I appreciate your thoughts on it, because again, I'm not trying to put a dagger in Sony or anything like that. It's just It's just a lot of signs right there that are disturbing to me if I was a Sony fan.
And I appreciate both of them for the competition. It's good for the industry, and I love Nintendo for sticking in it as well. So
Trailblazers.
They have a lot of good games.
Well, and that's the thing that people forget. The Switch still is a hot seller too. The Switch is doing gangbusters.
But was the top seller, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and the Wii U. The Wii U was a disaster. Even they admit that, right? They cut that console generation short as quick as they could.
It made no sense.
Yeah,
it just made no sense at all. It was like, you're gonna confuse every grandma right now with the naming. And speaking of naming, Microsoft, we like you, but what the hell is this?
We had discussions about this, in-depth discussions about this.
I call it the Xbox X for short.
Yes.
Series X. So yeah,
we love all the consoles over here. We love them all. I think I know Keith, Microsoft gifted Keith a really nice Series X with his name on it. We appreciate them. Shout out to Sony as well. I tend to prefer to play so far that and Nintendo, but now that Bethesda's over there, I'm very strongly, I really am going to probably get the Xbox. So especially for that, and the Game Pass is intriguing. I feel like Sony needs to be like them a little more with this PS Now. Come on, man, start adding some of these newer games on there, and I think that fans would love it because PS Now is cool. but mostly for the old games,
Yeah, no, I think that Game Pass has been a huge boon for Microsoft, especially. I mean, this month alone, Outriders put the server disaster with Outriders aside, right? Outriders. Look, Outriders if Outriders didn't have that server issue, that we'd be talking possibly about like a Game of the Year contender there, because that was, for me, I know a lot of folks out there were having a ton of fun with it, and then they had all those problems. But with that, the show, and then the whole Microsoft backlog, even I'm kind of hesitant to get like a subscription service for games, also because I might have a small addiction, and now I haven't seen the sun in like 3 weeks since I got Game Pass. There's it's doing gangbusters for them, and I think it's definitely something that Sony needs to look at trying to
here's the deal.
Answer soon.
The subscription service is clearly the future of that style of gaming. The other thing too is this: the thing that's amazing about the show, Ray, is that the show being on there is that if they get all 4 sports on there, and some other big titles, you have that annual reason to keep it. Like I said, I got it thinking, I'll cancel this when I don't have anything on here I want to play. But if they have this annual, like, oh, we got this every year, like, why would I not? I would never cancel that ever. Right. So I think that that's what they're going for. And I think that is a stronger move than anyone realizes. That like they've rounding this out. They do have a crystal ball, and they know subscription is the future of gaming, right? Ray, I have also talked that, not that the console will ever disappear anytime soon, but there'll be less need for a massive console here, especially that. Of course. So
we already know Sony's already planning a smaller console, because that thing is a beast.
Oh God, I hope so.
Ship.
Yeah, it is a monstrosity.
Yikes.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
You don't even realize how big it is until it actually shows up to your house. You're like,
right.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's a problem. But anyway, thanks for indulging the conversation. And like I said, there's a lot there. A lot there.
I gotta get Game Pass on my PC soon. So just to at least have that, so I can get those games, because even if I don't get a physical Series X anytime soon, I still want to play some of those things and visit some of the old games that were on Xbox and things. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the great thing about Game Pass too, is like there's a perfect example is I heard bad things about Crackdown 3 when it came out, right? So I wasn't going to drop $60 on that. I'm like, everybody, but now it's part of Game Pass. So after I finish Outriders and after I finish a couple other things, I'm like, I might go play Crackdown 3 now, because why not? I have the subscription, right?
Absolutely.
So, because now I've heard, it's one of those things where, because I really loved Crackdown 2. I was a big fan of the first 2 Crackdowns. But that's one of those things where it's like, you have a subscription like that, and you're like, oh, I have nothing to play. It's like, well, no, actually, I have dozens of games that I could possibly play now. So if I missed them, but
absolutely.
Yeah. So we started off the conversation talking a little bit about basketball, and I got us back on track, but I want to get back to that. Right. So again, your Spurs right now, they are, there it is. Yeah. There's the logo. You're, what are they? 5-time NBA champions, led by the likes of Duncan, and way back in the day, the Admiral and all that other stuff. But they're doing all right, but they're not up to that level of excellence you guys are used to. Right now, they're tied for 8th in the West. First thing I want to find out from you is, what do you think of this year's playoff format, where the bottom 4 teams, 7 through 10, have kind of a play-in series? What are your thoughts on that, with what the NBA is doing because of a slightly shortened season?
I think it's interesting. It gives a lot more, games for people to watch, and some advertising for the NBA to sell, but it's cool. It gives some teams that might be fringe teams to that opportunity to play into the playoffs and potentially upset somebody. You never know. Especially we saw last year, a lot of upsets happen with no audience around, Miami going all the way. No one really expected that. I think it's and I know they weren't like one of the play-in teams, but it just shows that anything can happen kind of in with the new guidelines and everything happening with no audience. It's like who can really thrive in those situations, you know?
Right.
But yeah, I love the NBA. Been a Spurs fan since David Robinson. And I thought he was, for some, you know, at the time I was kind of in like a military phase as a kid. I was into GI Joes and stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, the Admiral, he's really cool. And he became my favorite player. I was never really a bandwagon fan, so I didn't like the Bulls at the time. I didn't like the Lakers at the time, and I definitely didn't like the Jazz because they were against Spurs. So, you know, and then once Tim Duncan came, it was like, yeah, it's about time we're gonna start actually, you know, we started winning some championships, you know. So that like helped me solidify my fandom at the time. I was living in Vegas too, so there's no team in Vegas. So I didn't really have any loyalties to any team at the time. So I picked the Spurs, and they started winning championships, and I've been with them ever since. And it's weird not having the big three around anymore. That whole Kawhi thing gave me all types of problems. Like, man, we never dealt with anything like that. So, you know, we're excited. I'm excited to see what these young guys can do. DeJounte is really exciting. Derek White, you know, Keldon Johnson's come out of nowhere. Like, all these guys are really hard workers, and I'm excited to see where they take things.
You know, it's kind of interesting that you mentioned that, because that's kind of in a way a lot of also the way like my Knicks in a lot of ways. It's young players who have stepped up this year, who are doing more than we expected. Obviously, we have the one veteran, well, two veterans. We got Derrick Rose in a trade off the bench, but like really, it's Julius Randle's team, right? That's like he's the one veteran there, but like everybody else, it's all these kids. It's this draft. It's hard work. It's defense.
You know what's crazy is that I'm in some sports groups on Facebook, and people were saying, well, I had believed in Randle. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a really good pickup for the Knicks. Yeah. But then y'all had like 12 forwards at the time. Y'all had 12 forwards. Yeah. I counted. I was like, how is Randle supposed to play with 11 other forwards on this team? So you guys got rid of all those guys finally, and he was able to shine. Because I looked at him, what team was he on before the Knicks?
Was he with the Pelicans?
Yeah, I think he might have been with the Pelicans.
Like, because he was with somebody after the Lakers. He was with
the Lakers and the Knicks. He was with somebody, and he was doing his thing on that team. And I was like, yo, this dude is the real deal. And then when he got to the Knicks, I was like, this is great. But early on in the season, I knew some Knicks fans. They were like, oh, he's doing good, trade him. I was like,
no.
He was. I was
like, y'all Pelicans, and then the Lakers. I don't know how to. Huh?
He was at the Pelicans.
He was the Pelicans between the Lakers.
It was the Pelicans. Yeah. So all these Knicks fans were like, trade him. I was like, what are y'all talking about? Trade him.
Not all us Knicks fans. Don't lump me in with all those guys. Not all us Knicks fans.
That does like a New York fan in general. He's not performing. Trade him.
No, he was. And
I know that's the other side of it. He's doing great. Trade him.
It was like, for what? Why are you going to trade him? Yeah. You finally got somebody that's good. Keep him around if he wants to stay. You know, like shower him with gifts. Like, you better do anything you can to keep him around, and then try to build around him.
And I think that's what they are doing. And then we've been showering him with MVP chances. What we've been showering him with.
There you go.
But yeah, no, I think that Randle, he's coming into his own. People forget he's only 26. Like he's still got his prime. Like he's gonna be fine. And the Knicks. I mean, I also want to say Tom Thibodeau. I mean, and Randall's actually said this. He's like, Tom Thibodeau as the coach keeps him accountable, which is a big thing he didn't have when he was in LA. And like that's a big deal. And I think that shows it's just not
LA doesn't develop players. Yeah. LA doesn't develop players. They just
Right.
They're just like, all right, get rid of these kids and bring in somebody experienced.
Yeah,
So,
and that was the thing. Randall was kind of a guy who needed to be developed a little bit. The raw
Right.
talent was there, but somebody needed to mold him. And then, like you said, he started that process in New Orleans with the Pelicans, and then really kind of has been guys like Thibodeau have really kind of taken him to helped him take his game to a next level.
absolutely.
I said it the other day. He did something that hadn't been done since Bernard King in the 80s. I think he had, what was it? I think it was 40, 10, and 10 or something.
Wow.
It was ridiculous. I remember, or it was 40, 10, and 5. That's what it was. It was 40 points, 10 rebounds, and I think 5 assists or something. And it hadn't been done since Bernard King in 1985. I think the guys having literally a historical season for what is supposed to be a historical franchise, even though we haven't won garbage since 1973. Don't get me started on that. But
I mean, my condolences for 1999.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't going to bring it up. I wasn't going to mention it. That just stabbed me in the heart.
It was their only chance, Eric. It was the only chance in the 90s.
Oh, sorry, God. Man, we had to do it. I'm sorry.
No, I don't hold you personally. I don't hold it against you personally.
Some other Knicks fans do hate the Spurs, I'm assuming because of that reason. But
yeah.
It is what it is. Hey.
Yeah, we hold grudges. We hold grudges.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Forever. And your 76ers, man. Your 76ers, they're good. I still think though Ben Simmons need to get that shot.
Look, here's the deal with the 76ers. We talked about this in another episode, is that they're in their window. If they're gonna win, they have to do it really soon, and
really soon.
I was joking with Ray a couple episodes ago about how we were told to trust this process, and we trusted the process. And then, we get to where we need to be, and then we're underperforming, and then Toronto comes out of nowhere and makes one of the biggest backbreaking, choked, horrible feeling shots I've ever experienced in my life. That's one of those plays you watch it in slow motion when it's actually happening. You don't need to see the replay to see how painful it was.
Right.
But, look, Doc Rivers is exactly what they needed to get them playing where they are. But the truth is that now is the time. Now is the time to win. At least I should say get to the finals, right? Like, you got to go all the way right now.
After that year, y'all got rid of all your shooters. I know. So I was like, what the hell is wrong with y'all?
Yeah, it was like I said, when you're told to trust the process and you're trading away the process.
Right.
We were like, whoa. Like, we weren't that far off here this year, guys. Like, what do you
right. Y'all didn't need to get rid of those shooters at all. Like,
I agree.
Y'all finally brought some more back in with Danny Green and a couple other guys, but
right.
At that time it just didn't make any sense. And then they were like, all right, we're gonna do the same thing we did last year. It's like, no, you're not. You have no shooters on your team.
Right.
And Ben Simmons can't hit a shot to save his life.
And they didn't. Yeah, then they really were not a player. It's gonna be interesting this year. Is like, obviously it's, you never know in basketball, but right now it's Brooklyn and us are just neck and neck. Sixers are winning right now as we're recording this, but it's going to be a really interesting postseason. I don't remember the last time the Sixers had a bye, and then it's exciting to watch. Going back here, Spurs. I just saw. Obviously, this is going to change most likely, but if the playoffs started today, you'd be playing Golden State right away in that play-in. That might be a nice little fun.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be interesting.
Depends who shows up, bud.
Spurs fans will never forget Zaza Pachulia, man. We hate him so much. He changed our franchise for the worse.
Right.
And man, he's man, I don't know. I don't even have words for that man.
Well, look, I'll tell you this.
But good thing he's not on the Warriors anymore. But I think we could beat them for sure.
I think that to make this a full Geeks Who Like Sports episode, if you can make God bleed, and the Golden State's been bleeding for a few seasons now, if you know what I mean. They're not the team they were. We all know that. I'll tell you this too, though, being mostly an Eastern Conference guy in basketball. I've been to San Antonio multiple times. It's an amazing city. Really nice people, and they really love that team down there. I mean, mainly because it's the only thing that they have, but it's just it's cool to see the love for that team, love for Pop, and just the way there's a respect for that team that I mean, again, a lot of this comes with just going down to Texas. I mean, it's a totally different. It's not the Northeast. Let me put it that way. It's a little bit of a different speed, but I found the respect for that team down there something special. Like I haven't seen that respect in other cities that I've been to. Right.
For
So
sure.
I thought that was something cool, just for our listeners out there that, like there's a reason that team has the following that it has, you know what I mean? It's especially in the city. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Absolutely. Especially since, our core was around for so long together. It felt like a family organization. Right. You had Pop, you had the big three, and then the few role players that came in and out, like Patty Mills, the team, everybody loves Patty.
Right.
Everybody loves all the guys that have been through there. I mean, Richard Jefferson gets a lot of hate, but other than that,
right. But, I'll tell you another thing, man. And again, not to Ray, I haven't even told you this, but once upon a time, I was teaching college sports management and sports coaching leadership, and I asked my students that they had to profile any coach, it could be literally any coach, any sport, and I got maybe 60% of the reports on Popovich. I was blown away by that. It's not because, I know who he is. I know his stature, but like a random selection, that many kids picked him. That says something, right? And again, I thought that was amazing, but it just goes to show you, San Antonio's got something. There's a uniqueness there. That's why it's a pro sports team. And I thought that was, like you said, it was very family-like. That's a great way of putting it.
And his coaching tree is crazy. Like almost every team in the league has somebody formerly from the Spurs, Right. Do you guys still have Ime Udoka over there, or as a
I'm gonna look
assistant coach?
I'm gonna look it up.
He was our assistant coach for a while. I know you guys have Brett Brown at one point. He was a former Spurs guy.
He's not there anymore.
Yeah, he's not there anymore. But like the Nets got one of our guys in the GM office. Like a bunch of different, teams have our DNA in them. So
right. Well, and now the first female coach in NBA history as well. Head coach, excuse me.
I'm looking forward to seeing where she goes to, or if she takes over for Pop. Every year there's discussion on that, on what's going to happen with Pop, if he's going to retire or not. I think he'll go when he wants to go, or if he feels like, it's time for him to step away from coaching. I think he'll still have a job within the organization. But I'm excited to see who takes it up and helps steer these young guys in the right way. And hopefully another championship in the future.
I think that's inevitable.
He does
not an assistant coach anymore. All right, listen, just be happy the Knicks are in the playoffs, man. Don't go full New York on this. Just enjoy having a team in the playoffs.
I wasn't alive the last time.
I don't care. I don't.
Man, the Knicks fans winning a championship would be unbearable with their fans.
Just the Knicks? Are you kidding? Just the Knicks? Can you imagine the Jets ever won?
The Lakers are already bad enough. Like the Knicks, I think, would act like they have 30 trophies and
yeah.
We'll add them to the Yankees World Series, and you combine them, and you're like, look at us, this is what we got.
Eric, I always tell Ray that I understand his frustrations when any of his teams lose, but he gets no sympathy for me. When you're a Yankees fan, a Giants fan, a Knicks fan, and a Rangers fan, and Ray's over here like, it's the one team I have that hasn't won in my lifetime. Like, give me a break.
The one team.
Give me a break. It's the one team I need all four.
I got 4 Super Bowls. I got 6 World Series.
No, poor
5
you.
World Series, but
you.
Boo-hoo.
It's New York mentality. Well, they better win.
I gotta complete the 4. I gotta complete the 4, man.
Oh my goodness.
Man, but I love how the Spurs, they've won 5 in my lifetime, and it's been dope. It's been a dope journey for sure. Just being a fan, like the 2014 one was probably one of the best, just because I remember it the most recent. It was a great time.
Well, that's an interesting thing too. I tell people all the time, because for me, I say, it's the same thing with the Yankees and the Giants. Like, it's the later championships that kind of mean more, because those are the most vivid in my mind, right?
Exactly.
I don't remember when the Giants won the Super Bowl when I was 5.
Right.
I vaguely remember when the Rangers won the Cup when I was 9. I knew it was a big deal, but when the Yankees won when I'm 15, or the Giants won when I'm 22, it's like, Oh my! Those are the things that I'm going to hold on for the rest of my life because those are
Absolutely.
like super in focus.
Yeah, man. When the Eagles won when I was 35, or when the Phillies won when I was 27, those are real vivid memories in my mind.
What hurts even more about 2014 is I could have potentially gone to that game.
Oh, that does hurt.
That last game that they won, friend had an extra ticket, but I couldn't go. And I was like, no.
Please tell me you had to go see about a girl. That would make this the perfect story.
No, it was
do the Goodwill Hunting ending.
It wasn't a girl. It was actually me being broke. So
that's fair too. No, listen, that's understandable too, man. You probably made the right move there.
I couldn't buy the ticket. It was just not, unless
no, I get it, man, dude. That's
good reason. Ask all my family, like, hey, can I borrow some money? It's like, no. I was just like, all right, it's just not meant for me this time. Hopefully, one day in the future, I'll be able to see them win a championship in person. So.
Totally, but yeah, my two that's two different sports champions combined in my lifetime. Ray, I don't feel bad for you at all. so real quick, Eric, I'll tell you this too, that I was born shortly after the Sixers won their championship, and that was the last championship Philadelphia won until the Phillies. So I was like the living embodiment of that losing streak. I remember when the Phillies won, I went nuts. But I always say this too, and to everybody listening, this proves like the point that both of you are making, from both playing sports, coaching sports, and being a fan of sports. What happens is like that first one you win, or those first few you wins, you just go so crazy, you just kind of forget to live in the moment because you're so excited, right? Like it's like seeing a Star Wars movie or a Marvel movie the first time. Like the second time you see it, you really see it,
right?
Like what happens is as you get older and more experienced with winning, you start to realize like, this might not happen again,
right.
And you start to savor it. You hope it's going to happen again, but who knows if we're going to be alive to see that? Who knows if anything, and so you start to look at it differently. Like, I really got to enjoy this one because you never know when we're going to get back. I think the older you get, the more you're able to do that, like I remember when the Eagles won, and I'm not trying to make fun of you. That was my second championship ever. I remember Ray was there. I was really living in the moment. I was really like this. I'm going to hold on to this feeling as long as I can.
Yeah, exactly. You got to. Yeah. Well, and my dad actually got to see his Cubs win for the first time.
Oh wow!
A few years back.
Wow.
That was a long drought.
A little bit, yeah.
Over a century.
Although if they were Bulls fans, I still don't feel bad for him.
I mean, yeah, he's a Bulls fan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for him, but I'm not sitting here like, oh. Yeah.
I think he's into the Cubs more than he's into the Bulls.
No, that's fair.
He'll watch. He'll watch more. He watches way more games of the Cubs than the Bulls. So he's
fair enough. He's a true fan. I got it. That's his number one.
Yeah, there you go. He's a true Cubs fan. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. So that was cool for him.
That's totally fair. Yeah. So Lee mentioned movies. Last thing we're going to talk to you about, Eric, is a little birdie told me that you are a huge fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie from 1990.
Absolutely.
So what got you?
It's the greatest movie of all time.
It is. It is up there. I'm right there alongside you. We are huge Turtles fans as well. Got to know what got you into Turtles, and what do you think of how the Turtles have progressed over the last 30 years? The different cartoons, the video games, and of course, they just announced Shredder's Revenge. I want to know. I want to get your thoughts on all the Turtles stuff.
I was a kid when the cartoon was out. It changed my life, obviously, for the better, and when I saw the 1990s Turtles movie, and it wasn't until recently that I realized that it's the greatest movie of all time, because it's got everything in it that you need. It's got romance, it's got action, it's got tragedy, it's got character development for all the Turtles. It's got pizza. Exactly. There you go. It's, and people often forget the original because they think of the nostalgia of the second one.
Who's?
Yes.
Over the original? That's crazy.
No, he's not wrong though. Some people, because of Toka and Razar and Super Shredder specifically.
Come on. I mean, it was good.
And Vanilla Ice and all those things that are very memorable in your brain, that they sometimes confuse the two. And if you go back, you realize in that second movie they never allowed to use their weapons. because the parents complained about the first one. They even curse in the first one. They get their butts whooped by ninjas. Like, man, there's so many great moments in the first movie that I feel it's underrated. I feel like the story is just great, and it's the greatest movie of all time. What can I say?
I think it's also this is going to sound funny, but it's not meant to be. It's actually a fairly good representation of Manhattan in the early 90s.
Oh yeah.
You know absolutely. What I mean? It's Ray and I both worked in Manhattan for many years, a little bit, probably 2005-ish to 2010 would be like the era I was there. But the city was pretty thriving at that point. I remember going there as a kid, and you go to Times Square. A lot of people don't realize this. You go to Times Square in like 1989, 1990, all you see is a lot of XXX places and things you don't want to be. Times Square was not what it is today.
Not at all.
30 years ago, so but the greatest movie of all time, I'll just tell you this. When my kids ask me, what were the 90s like? I'm going to pop that one in.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Your kids will grow up to be great people once they see that movie.
What happened at school today? I hit someone with a bow and then a nunchuck. That's great, Logan. Way to go.
Good job.
Yeah.
But like
I made it funny.
Throughout, my life, I've, watched the different Ninja Turtle stuff, and I watched the Michael Bay ones, and of course, and I mean, obviously not the greatest ones, but they did improve on the one with Krang in it. I feel like that one was a lot better than the first one.
Yeah. True to canon, at least.
What'd you say?
I said it was much more along the way turtles are supposed to feel.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Like they were trying to do too much. They were trying to turn it into some super crazy Transformers movie or something. I was like,
well, and the script too. Like the first script was they were aliens, and I think like they had to refilm. Ray, I don't know if you remember this, but they refilmed a lot of it because one of the characters was meant to become Shredder, and the fans totally rejected it in the early screenings.
Yeah,
exactly.
They pretty much told Michael Bay, like, you got to make Shredder, man. There's only one Shredder. You can't replace the Shredder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was supposed to be a white guy, and everybody was like, hell no. Hell no. You better not make Shredder a white dude. You make Shredder who he's supposed to be. And
it's like The Last Samurai. Who knew The Last Samurai was Tom Cruise?
It's not a white dude. He's
a
Japanese dude. Like, come on.
Exactly. So I'm glad they at least went back to fix it, but it still wasn't what it should have been. It was too much. And now they're saying that Seth Rogen and his company is taking on a Ninja Turtles project. I'm very excited about that. They did The Boys. They did a bunch of other movies and shows that have been really good. So I'm excited for Seth and them to see what they can do with this and keep Michael Bay far away from it.
So real quick, most important question I might ask: who is your favorite turtle?
So man, it's always been Raph, but I feel like my personality is closer to a mix of Michelangelo and Raphael. You know what I mean? Just little pieces here and there. I'm a fun guy, but if you get on my nerves, I'll turn into Raphael.
Eric, have you been reading The Last Ronin by chance?
I have not read it yet. I've been hearing about it, and I need to read it.
Yes, you do.
Because I hear it's really good.
It's really.
I'm hoping they turn it into like a comic, not a comic, but like a cartoon at some point, an animated thing.
I mean, it's dark, man. Like, I'll be honest with you, it's going to be rated R if they do it. But here's the thing: that would actually be perfect. Now would be the time to do that because you have enough fan base built up now. You could do a rated R turtle. So I'm like, look, this isn't for your kids.
Should be dark. I mean, that's how Turtle started.
Right, black and white. Totally.
Yeah, exactly. People forget that people don't realize in the first issue of the original Turtles run, Shredder dies in the first issue because Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird never thought they were going to get the money to do a second issue. And that's when you get Krang and the Triceratons, all this other stuff, because they needed to come up with new villains.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's crazy how dark it was. And that's another reason why the first one is so good. The first movie,
right?
Because it's a lot darker and it's closer to the first, the first Turtles that came out, with obviously the newer elements of it with the colors and everything, but and the personalities, but it still straight true to like the dark aspect of it. Because you guys know it was kind of based off of Daredevil, right?
Yeah, it kind of took its cues from Daredevil and X-Men and Batman. It was kind of like a bit of a parody almost on a lot of those comics of that era.
Because the hand and the foot, Stick and Splinter, it's and then even like the origin is somewhat a take on it's somewhat of a continuation from the Daredevil origin and all that stuff. So
there's one theory that the chemicals that made Daredevil blind are actually the same chemicals that turned the turtles into the turtles.
Same city, man. It would make sense. You're making me remember too in the 1990 film. So like some of our younger listeners may perhaps have not seen that, but there's a scene, where Raph is on a rooftop and he gets really beat up. He's
on the verge of death.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's it's a dark scene. Yeah, I know it's a dark scene, and he really gets his butt kicked. I mean, it's rough. And I remember as a kid watching that and like really genuinely feeling concerned and like, oh my God, but it was dark. That's the word I would use to explain it. It's dark, but.
They could actually fight the villains.
right. Yeah. The second one was very Disney-fied, I would say. And then we won't talk about the third one. But, it was just, I mean, you make a great point about how dark that film was for the time it was. Because again, we all remember it as kids. But when you really think about it, like, Casey Jones, like beating a guy up with a bat. It's like, this movie is awesome. You're not wrong.
A bat, a hockey stick. Yeah. Like a cricket bat.
Right.
Like,
play a little cricket.
They were beating people up in that movie, and like you said, one of the turtles nearly gets beat really badly.
Yeah.
So
they got to carry him back.
You don't see that in any movies these days, and I mean, spoiler warning, for a film that came out in 1990. But
I was gonna say it's been 30 years. I'm not too worried about the spoilers.
Someone's gonna complain. I can't believe he spoiled Turtles for me.
At the end, they still lose the Shredder.
Right.
And Master Splinter defeats Shredder. Right. So it's like even though they've been training all this time to beat this villain, they still lose, even when they come together as a team, and it takes, Splinter to handle his foe that he's had for all these years. So it shows that they're still inexperienced and they're like teenagers. They're versus this grown man who's a samurai.
Well, the last thing I'll say before Ray gets to Shredder's revenge is that definitely go pick up The Last Ronin, because
I will.
You're dealing with without giving anything away, the Turtles would be in their 40s, I think, at this time.
Right.
If not, Ray, possibly a little bit older. I mean, they're not kids. Let me put it that way. They're not kids in this comic. They're not teenage at all. And it's cool that Eastman made a comic that shows the future finally of like what would become of these turtles in the future. So definitely check that out. It's really good.
One possible future, we'll say.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
I mean, it's comics. People, it gets retconned all the time.
Exactly.
Turtles, they won't be dead forever. They'll be back heading up another story.
Totally.
What was it? That was like the one IDW comic, the one run where they like Rocksteady killed Donatello, and they realized after 20 issues of that, they're like, yeah, we need to restart this. That was probably a mistake.
Right. I've been seeing this stuff about the female turtle as well, but I haven't read those comics.
Venus.
Yeah, Venus.
Yeah.
Wait, is that the right one?
I think there's another one now too.
No, because not the one from the show, the live action show.
There's a new female turtle, and then there's it's hard to a little bit keep track, because now there's so many mutants. There's what was it, Alopex to Fox, you got Big Hob to Cat, you've got there's a lot. They've added a lot of new characters in the last few years, they're all cool, they all fit the story well. But if you're not reading month to month, sometimes it can keep hard to be hard.
It looks
to
like Jenica is the name. I just looked it up.
Yeah,
right.
Jenica,
Yeah.
The fifth
Venus was the one from the show, which was pretty bad.
Which we don't talk. We don't talk about the show the same way we don't talk about the third movie.
Right.
Exactly. But Jenica looks cool. I'm curious. I mean, I need to check out the comic she's in to see what they got going on with her. But yeah.
I'm looking at a Google article: the 10 things you need to know about the fifth Ninja Turtle.
You know they're gonna make a list for everything. They always
of course. And
Yep,
I'm not going to click
clickbait.
on it because I don't want to go down the rabbit hole right now. But let's talk about Shredder's Revenge because that's something you got to be excited about.
Yeah, what are your I'm sure you've heard about the .emu Shredder's Revenge game that's coming out.
The game.
Yes, which is basically a continuation from Turtles in Time.
Right.
Yeah, Turtles in Time. I'm definitely getting it. Absolutely.
Yeah, we all.
I don't know. I don't know which platform it's on, but I'm getting it regardless. Like I'm just I'm getting it. I'm gonna go play it, and hopefully I can play with my brother or something, or some of the other guys who want to play it. So
I got excited, when Ray told me that. I was excited about the game to begin with, but then he goes, "Yeah, the guys who make Streets of Rage are making it." I was like, "This is perfect. This is like the ultimate collaboration here."
Amazing. I love it. I can't wait to play it. I don't know. I can't wait to beat it, and then continue on. I just need a good regular Turtles game, man.
Right?
A good regular Turtles. Like, why is it so hard for somebody to license this property and make a good game?
Yeah. No, well, hopefully this looks like they're gonna finally get it right after several failures. It's been a while since they've even made a decent one.
Right.
I've said it. I actually was interviewed for an article as a quote unquote Turtles expert, and I've said it's been 25 years since they've had a really good Turtles game. I mean, it's hard to believe, but it's been that long since Turtles in Time. And I'll say this till I'm blue in the face. I loved Turtles Tournament Fighters. I thought Tournament Fighters was super underrated.
Is that the one with the Triceratops dude in it? On Sega Genesis?
You had the Triceratops, you had the shark dude, you had it was the fighter, right? It was like
the one on Genesis, right?
It was on Genesis and Super Nintendo, but what was great was the rosters were different on the two consoles. So if you played on Genesis, you didn't get the same experience as you did on Super Nintendo.
Interesting. I had the Genesis version. We didn't have Super Nintendo growing up, so that's interesting. I didn't know that until now. But like, you guys see the new Batman game coming out with the sidekicks, and you can play together.
Gotham Knights, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, you should do that for the Turtles, man. Do that for the Turtles. That would be cool.
Yeah, open world Turtles game. Yeah, I mean, that's
what's interesting about the Turtles, guys. This could be a cool question actually to answer. Is that I think what they, without playing the new game, what they did right was they go, okay, what's the best Turtles game that ever existed? Turtles in Time. Let's just remake that because we're living in a time period you can do that. You can make a 2D side scroller, modernize it, and you're going to find an audience. Now, that's not that I would not be against a like Manhattan City 3D first person view or third person view Turtles game if it was done correctly. But a lot of the things that made these games great in the 90s was that it was a side scroller and it was fun and I loved Streets of Rage 4, right? I loved it. I mean, it's probably my favorite game I've played over the last year. Really, that's just me, right? Mm-hmm. But it just goes to show you, sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel to make a great game, right? Sometimes you just have to know your audience a little bit, like you said, Eric. Why is it so hard to do this, right? Just know your audience
and know the property.
Absolutely. Just take this Batman Gotham Knights thing and reskin it as a Turtles game, and then just throw in the right villains for each villain.
Turtles Manhattan Knights.
And you go,
exactly.
Except Knight is spelled correctly this time without the K.
It's Nights. So anyway. So Eric, thank you so much for taking time out of your Friday, man, to sit down and talk with us. Again, for those of you, go check out glonavy.com. Check it out. What they're doing over there. They've got a lot of great creators over there with all kinds of fighting games and obviously Warzone and Fortnite and GTA and everything else they're doing over there. And yeah, Eric, let people know where they can find you, man. And thanks for coming on the show.
No problem. EWALGNG on Instagram, EWALGN on Twitter. Reach out to me anytime. Talk about games, nerdy stuff. I'm on Clubhouse a lot as well, talking about nerdy things as well. So hit me up However, shout out to you guys. Thank you for bringing me on. I appreciate it.
No, pleasure, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on again. And this has been the latest Geeks Who Like Sports Leaderboard interviews. For Lee, I'm Ray. We'll see you all next time.